What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Audible Sportscast. My name's Jeffrey.
My name's Cody, and on this channel we talk about football and other hot sports stories.
Alright, we got another good one for you today, another fantasy football one. You know, the season's right around the corner. These last-minute drafts are happening all the time, and we just want to give you some of our rankings for pretty much who you should be drafting. So today, we're going to be talking about tight end.
The hardest list we can do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, just looking at last year's rankings, a lot of these players, there's only two tight ends last year in a standard. I don't even know how many for the PPR, but there's only a handful of tight ends that even average 10 points a game in fan, which, you know, can make or break if you win a game for if you have these really close games, which in competitive leagues a lot are.
And tight ends are the rarest position behind running back.
Oh, yeah.
I got lucky and got Kyle Pitts. We'll see if he turns out to be anything, but that's the best I could get this year.
Yeah, it's pretty much you gotta draft one early, or you're kind of hoping that one lucks to you. But let's get into the rankings. So at number 10, I have Robert Tonyan.
Okay. Yeah, he started off. Wait, did he start off good, or was it mid-season he broke out?
It was about mid-season, but the thing I have with him is all of his production is pretty much touchdown-based, which with that offense, yeah, they can spread the ball out a lot, but, you know, that's a risky pick when, you know, he's not getting heavy targets and he's just relying on touchdowns when, you know, they've added Randall Cobb. And
yeah, it's going to go down this year.
Oh, yeah. I think, you know, production will still be there, just it's going to go down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. But my number 10 is Dallas Goedert from the Eagles.
Yeah, I kind of had problems putting him on my list. I wanted to, but I don't know how much faith I have in Jalen Hurts right now.
Well, I mean, having usually the QBs that you don't have much faith in, they're going to go for the tight ends, more likely than not.
Yeah, considering the receiver issue too in Philadelphia, they don't really have a wide receiver one. You'll see Goddard kind of go into it, but who knows? They still have there's still no word on Zach Ertz too. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back and, you know, take some of the shares away. But that's a sticky situation. That's a very sticky situation. But coming in for number 9 for me, I have Noah Fant. I wanted to be a little bit higher on him, but with them naming Bridgewater as a starter, I feel like that's going to kind of drop his production a little bit. Not that Trey Bridgewater is going to do worse. It's just, you know, looking kind of in Teddy Bridgewater's past, he wasn't really always that big on the tight ends. It was more focused, wide receiver focused.
I don't know, though, when he played with the Vikings, wasn't Rudolph pretty showing out a little bit?
I mean, he had his moments, but
I think with Bridgewater playing is better for Fant, because he had really high expectations going into last year, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah, he's only the number 9 ranked tight end last year, when people had really high expectations on him.
We'll see, though. My number 9, though, is Logan Thomas.
Yeah, his story in general is just amazing. You know, a converted quarterback to tight end.
He could be higher, actually.
I originally had him pretty high on my list, and just as things moved around, he ended up moving to you'll soon see. But yeah, I see some high things going to him, because when you look at you know, last year he was the number 4 ranked tight end with pretty much, you know, other than Alex Smith, you know, you had not the best quarterback play.
Agreed.
But coming in at number 8 for me, I have Logan Thomas. So, you know, a lot of the same things, very close.
My number 8 is Irv Smith from the Vikings.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely going to have a good year, but that's just a lot of ball to carry around for that entire team.
I don't know, red zone area, when they get in the red zone, I think he'll have a good touchdown year.
Maybe. I'm not too big on Irv. Maybe not as big as I should be, but it's just, I mean, even I think Adam Thielen last year led the league in red zone touchdowns. I could be wrong on that, but for at least a wide receiver, but who knows. So coming in at number 7 for me, I have Kyle Pitts. You know, there's a lot of hype going in around him, but it was hard for me to even kind of put him on the list just because, you know, he's a rookie. You know, there's no real pro tape or anything to look at.
I agree. But I have him a little higher, but my number 7 is Noah Fant.
Yeah, pretty similar rankings with our Noah fans. These tight ends are hard. It's one of the hardest positions to kind of really look at. You know, it's I wouldn't say a dying position, but it's one that its value is really seen only in its higher players. So picking these kind of later ones, it will see a lot of kind of similarities, and kind of depends a lot more on almost QB play versus them themselves.
Well, it depends on the style of tight end. Like Jack Doyle and Mo Ali Cox from the Colts, they're both really good blocking tight ends, which is very valuable, but Jack Doyle really, catches 10-yard passes at the most. And then Mo Ali Cox has the biggest hands in the NFL and can go up and get the ball no problem, but his number one duty is blocking. So
it just depends a lot on the system that allows your players to go and do things. At number 6, I have T.J. Hawkinson. I kind of wanted to put him higher, and I was kind of questioning where to put him, especially, you know, with kind of Detroit as it is. But, you know, with them losing 2 wide receiver ones last year, he's going to pick up a lot of the targets and probably will be the reason Jared Goff has yards coming up season.
I agree.
I also have him at 6.
So
yeah, he's just, you know, he's a really good tight end. Arguably should have been a Pro Bowler last year with kind of how his stats were. Or wait, was he a Pro Bowler?
I honestly can't remember.
I don't want to.
Well, because the Pro Bowl wasn't really much of a thing this year, so it's past season, so it's hard to recall.
But yeah, I agree. But
Jared Goff tends to like his receivers more, even though he has a hard time getting it out to them. But
he'll be struggling a lot this year. They're kind of lacking the receivers. They, you know, let Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay both walk. So, but coming in at number 5 for me, I have Mark Andrews. You know.
Yeah, he can be a solid tight end. He shined the season prior to last season. He's
very good. Past season, he had maybe 5 games at most that were decent fantasy points. By decent, I mean above 10.
And he'd have like 20 points or something like that. But
oh yeah, you know, in 2019, you're seeing him have he's the tight end 5 last two seasons ago, averaging 13.8, and you kind of see that drip off a little bit last year, being the tight end 6 and only getting around.
I thought he was
12.
lower than that.
No, he was the tight end 6 last year, and
tight ends must have played horrible last year. I think they did.
He was one of only a handful to average a little over 10. He had 12.2 points per game.
But my number 5 is
Kyle Pitts. I think he'll come out and be a receiving tight end just like Darren Waller, basically. Even though there's still receiving talent on the team, I think he's got a lot of speed, and his blocking power or ability. So
it'll be.
I think he's gonna be out catching the ball a lot.
It'll be very interesting to see how they use him, especially since they had a really good tight end last year with Hayden Hurst. You know, as the 10th ranked tight end last year. So it'll be very interesting to see how they use Pitts, because you know he's going to be out receiving more on the line. So it'll just be interesting how they kind of blend him in. So coming in at number 4 for me, I'm really high on him is Mike Goseki. I
don't have him on my list.
I just feel like he's going to kind of be that that guy that down in Miami. You know, he's a very athletic guy, and you know, him and Tua are gonna get along very nicely this year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I can see it. He shined at times, but he
Oh,
wasn't like really a starting option
No,
last year.
he was the tight end 7 last year. Only averaged about 10 points a game, so you know, not the best.
Yeah.
Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Mark Andrews. I think, like we talked earlier, I think Lamar likes him, but he struggled at times last year to get him the ball or anyone the ball. But I don't know. I think he will do all right this year.
Oh yeah, he'll still have a pretty decent year. Coming in at number 3 for me, I have George Kittle. He's just our top 3 tight ends are they're going to be the same, but George Kittle is someone I've kind of been high on the last couple years, and he's really good. It's just more of kind of the QB play. I feel like that might bring him down a little bit because we don't know we don't know what's going to really go on.
I feel like he excelled with after Garoppolo went down.
Well,
I feel like he's one of the few tight ends that can carry a team.
yeah, his problem though last year was he didn't get to play a lot. He only played 8 games.
Well, I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking like in general. He's the tight end that can carry a team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
no matter
definitely.
who's playing. No matter who's playing, he's gonna be open.
Yeah.
Which is you can't really say for many tight ends.
I mean, I still see him being the 3rd best tight end. These 3 are going to put up really good numbers. Like, these guys are pretty much, if you could put them at a wide receiver, you honestly probably could. You should.
Yeah. My number 3, though, is Travis Kelsey. He's one of the best. He could be the best, but he can block, release, get the ball, no problem. Run, he can run like a regular receiver, outrun corners and everything. Very strong. Not much I can say.
Oh yeah, just he can do it all for you. And when it comes to fantasy, he put up amazing numbers last year. The number 1 tight end he actually averaged only over 20 points a game, set a tight end single season record for yards. Like he's the man.
Who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I have Darren Waller.
Really?
Yeah, in my all honesty, any one of my 3 could be interchangeable. These guys are just that good, and it's just the way I saw it, Darren Waller, just slightly below who my number 1 is, just for the simple fact alone of kind of quarterback play. Now, Derek Carr is a really good quarterback, but
you have to think who's there
in Oakland
no
they're still thinking a lot of good things about Henry Ruggs. So, you have Ruggs there. Hunter Renfro, who's been, playing or been doing really good in off-season. Like, early in the off-season, there was highlights of him going out about him pretty much burning Jalen Ramsey. They're expecting big things from him next year. So, they have a few good receivers there, too. Not to mention it's a run-heavy team. You have Josh Jacobs.
Darren Waller carries that team, though. That man is the tight end to get. He will save you in fantasy points, which these top 3 tight ends can, but he's my tight end. I don't know.
My number 2 is George Kittle, because to me he is very comparable to Waller.
They both can save your fantasy.
And, I don't know.
You're very lucky if you get a tight end in their caliber. If not, then you're kind of screwed for a tight end spot for points. But
if you can get your hands on any of these 3 tight ends we've been kind of talking about and we'll talk about here in a second, you're set. Like, they can put up really good numbers. They will put up good numbers, bearing any setbacks of injuries or whatnot. But they're as good as they come.
Go ahead and reveal your number 1.
Number 1, Travis Kelsey. I mean, it's hard not to put him here after the season he just had.
Yeah. Well, and Darren Waller is my number 1. And it's obvious who Derek Carr favors on that offense because he's literally more of a receiver than Henry Ruggs or any other receiver on that team. Ruggs is fast, but he's not the best route runner. Speed doesn't make up route running. Yeah, that Renfro guy, he's a decent. Was he play slot?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and they just lost John Brown. He just told them he's getting out of there. So they really don't have much else. So and Derek Carr is a very underrated QB. He gets the ball where it's due. So that's why I love Waller so much. He has saved my fantasy every single year he's been in the league. But that's what I have to say about him.
Yeah, and my thing with Waller, pretty much not having him at the number 2, is just more about how that run game is going to look. You know, they went out and got Kenyon Drake too, so they have 2 reliable running backs with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. So I just feel like you'll see them maybe run it a bit more, and that might take away a little bit of his load. But yeah, he's still going to put up amazing numbers. Like he
Who is your number 2?
Darren Waller was my number 2.
You don't think Kansas City's going to try and run a little more since they got all those new linemen?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's still, you know, an Andy Reid offense with, you know, he's going to remember, hey, I have Patrick Mahomes here, and he can make any throw in the game, so you know they're gonna be slinging it a lot.
I mean, that's what Gruden loves, slinging the ball.
I feel like the key difference kind of with Kansas City versus Oakland is just the sheer amount of weapons and possibilities of all of those weapons having amazing numbers. Where
I don't know. My ideology is if you have one really good weapon and you got Henry Ruggs who's got asthma and has an asthma attack every other play. I don't know. That's me. I have to put Waller at number 1.
And then, you know, then we could go into kind of, that means Waller might get a little bit more double teams, but then, you know.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Colts did that to him, and he still put up the fantasy numbers. That's what had him on fantasy. It was like, jeez. I love the points, but it's like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, we're kind of going back and forth against pretty much these 2 guys, but in all honesty, if you can get Kittle, Waller, or Kelsey, and as long as you're not putting up a really high pick for him, which, you know, in most cases you're going to have to, I mean, you got yourself a tight end.
I agree. Who's your sleeper?
Now, sleeper was kind of hard for me, just for the fact of, you know, it was hard to make a top 10 list, kind of. But, in all honesty, you know, you kind of look at New England a little bit. It's like, what you kind of want to see, you know.
Jonnu Smith?
Well, it's hard to say Jonnu Smith is kind of a sleeper because he had a really good fantasy season last year. Or not really good.
He had a decent.
He had, you know, if you started him at the right weeks, you had some really nice weeks.
He's a good fallback option.
Yeah. But at the same
like
time,
Mark Andrews, when he was underperforming, he was because I had Mark Andrews last year, and he was my fallback option.
Yeah, but you kind of, if between Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, it's like one of them I feel like is going to end up getting really acquainted with Mac Jones. So if you can end up picking the right one, you'll have yourself a nice little sleeper.
That's who my sleeper is, or steal, whatever you want to call it, is Jonnu Smith, because he definitely is the better tight end than Hunter Henry, in my opinion. But, yeah, it's just how that offense is going to form together. Yeah, they got all these new pieces, but how are they going to work, you know?
Oh, yeah. And someone else I kind of, you know, maybe keep an eye on, depending on how you see it, but Jimmy Graham might put himself up another good fantasy season. You know, he relied a lot on
I'm not really up on him. Did he really have a good fantasy, or was it a few games?
Well, it's kind of like with Tanyan, except not the same level, but he relied a lot on touchdowns. He, I believe, had the second most touchdowns of tight ends last year. And there was lots of times where he could have had a lot more if his quarterback was looking his way, which a lot of those plays were designed for him. So, you know, you see Andy Dalton, who has had tight ends put up really good numbers and knows how to use a tight end. You know, he's had Tyler Eifert for a couple of years put up really good numbers when he was healthy. And then even early in the preseason, you see Justin Fields already, utilizing the tight end a lot. You saw Jesse James, and the other tight ends of the Bears, like Jesper Horsted, kind of get a lot of the receptions when he was in.
Is that all we got, though?
Yeah, that's all I have. We just wanted to give you our tight ends, so that way, if there's a couple you're thinking on, just to give you guys some suggestions on who you should be drafting.
Make sure to like and subscribe. So, if you're watching on YouTube, for the YouTube algorithm, and then.
Oh yeah, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Audible Sportscast, and on Twitter on Audible SC, and then we have a Facebook group too if you want to follow that at Audible Sportscast. But y'all have a good one.
We'll see you.